My friends, what is going on? Welcome to another episode of Diner Talks with James. I'm James. I'm super excited to be kicking it with you all here today. My friends, coming up, we have my friend Anna Roisman. She and I have known each other a very long time, but haven't necessarily spent a ton of time together. But the time that we have had, I have always cherished, and I'm really grateful for her friendship and really grateful for what she posts online, mainly her soup recipes. The soup game is strong with this one. But let me tell you a little bit about her before we bring her out. Anna Roisman is a comedian, a host, a writer, an actress. She is the host of HQ Words and HQ Trivia. If you fancy yourself some HQ, you'll definitely recognize her. She's been recently seen on NBC's Celebrity Sleepover, and her work has been featured all over in the Tribeca Film Festival, the Just for Laughs Festival, New York Times, LA Times, all the times, really. She also has an incredible podcast called Unemployed with Anna Roisman, and I really recommend it. The episode with John Gabris that she recently did actually spoke to me a lot as a fellow Long Island boy, but I'm super pumped to have her. You can follow her all over social media as Anna Roisman. But also, you need to check out her dog. Bobby Flay, the dog, on Instagram is killing it. The dog looks fake, but it's very real. I'm excited to have her come out, y'all. Here comes Anna Roisman.
Thank you. Pew, pew, pew. I see the crowd goes wild. Wow. Thank you so much for that intro. You know, when you asked for my bio, I was like, is this going to be my intro? Like how much do I want to put in and not put in? It felt great. I felt important for a second.
It was a good length, right? Because no one likes a long bio.
They don't. It was a little long. I didn't know. I was like, maybe he'll pick and choose, but I appreciate it. Thank you for having me. This is so fun.
I'm super pumped to have you, friend.
Thanks.
What's going on? So now you are in Williamsburg, Brooklyn.
I am, where the hipsters roam. I don't think it's hipsters anymore. I think it's like families now.
Yeah, I think the hipsters have reproduced.
The hipsters have moved on. Now it's just their parents. They're all parents.
Way less skinny jeans, way more elastic.
Yeah, a lot of strollers. Yeah.
For sure. Yeah, it's the new Park Slope. I would also call it the brunch capital of the world. The brunch
really?
Game is strong in Williamsburg.
It is, yeah. I do like a good brunch if I can go.
So right, the world's starting to open up now, which is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Anna, I'm super pumped to be here. This show is called Diner Talks with James, and I know that you fancy yourself a New York diner.
Oh yeah.
What's your late night diner move with friends? What are you typically ordering late at night at a diner?
Sure. So one thing for me that I love at diners is they always have matzo ball soup, and as a Jew, that's a very exciting thing to have on a menu. Mm-hmm. It's never great, but it's consistent. You know what I mean? You know what you're gonna get. So I would say my late night order is definitely matzo ball soup, and I'll get usually a diner, I'll get like a chicken Caesar wrap. You know how they'll do any salad in like a wrap? Yeah. That's my classic diner order. Yeah. I have a couple 24 hours near me. That's what I get.
The chicken Caesar wrap is a classic move as well. Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. I've been known to get a buffalo chicken wrap if I'm feeling fancy and don't care about my esophagus that night.
Yeah. I like those too. I forgot about that one, but I feel like I always go with chicken Caesar more than I do buffalo.
Yeah. I agree with you about the matzo ball soup. Most New York diners do it fine, right? It's like it's a solid 6 or a 7 at every diner. Yeah. But it's never above that and rarely below it. Now, for you, what makes a good matzo ball soup? Like, what would elevate it?
Oh, like spices, like
like flavor.
Yeah. like dill, maybe a carrot, maybe an onion in there, Yeah. Usually they give you like dishwater and a matzo ball, but they salt it, it's got salt. So it's palate, you can taste it, but yeah, definitely some spices, fresh herbs.
It's nothing what grandma was making or mom. I don't know who's the chef in your family.
It was my grandma made the soup. Yeah. My mom makes it. I make the soups now, and it's not it wasn't a thing. Like I've always loved to eat soup. The whole soup thing is because it's my favorite food. So yeah. So that's why I taught myself how to make them.
I mean, it's such a great product.
Mm-hmm. And fun fact, though, I hate making matzo ball soup. It's the one soup I have fucked up multiple times that I just give up. I'm really good at other chicken soups, like other chicken noodle soups, but I can't make a matzo ball for the life of me. I have yet to perfect one. So
it evades you.
Yeah. So I'll stick with other soups. But it's embarrassing because people are like, she probably likes to make that. And I'm like, that's anti-Semitism. And I'm like, no.
First off. Oh, you Jewish? Wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Exactly. I am also a soup lover. Hale and Hearty soup, I think, is an underrated place around New York.
Oh, I love Hale and Hearty. I used to get that all the time when I had a day job.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, easy grab and go. Now, when did your love of soups happen? Was there a soup that, like, did you have like a crab bisque growing up where you're like, what is this world of soups? Like, was there a soup that changed the game?
Not that I remember. I just always loved it. I like really, really hot food. Yeah. So does my mom, like to the point where most people would say that's boiling. That will burn me. I love it like that. Like when I reheat something, I do like 3-4 minutes, which I think is like above what most people do in a microwave. Like my boyfriend will not eat anything I heat up for a while because he knows it's like going to be like piercing hot. So I think maybe because soup's like the hottest of the hot foods. So sure, yeah. I don't know. I just always loved it. I loved ramen. I used to make cup of noodles, like, the cup of noodle. I still make them sometimes. Those are like a really good food for me to have late night. But cup of noodles, I used to make them at camp, like even with shower water. I'd like hold it up under a shower head. That was like I'd prefer that than like chips. I love chips, but then like cookies, I guess I'd be like, I'm just gonna go make a cup of noodles and like hold it up against a shower.
Everybody's like, where's Anna? I'm pretty sure
she's eating soup in a shower house again.
Soup in the shower house, yeah. Her pores look great and her esophagus is happy.
Yeah.
That's incredible. I am a creamy soup lover. So I like your chowders and your bisques. And I'm also New England clam over Manhattan. I don't understand what happened to Manhattan clam chowder and why it exists. I don't agree with the tomato broth. Some people love it, but I don't understand why.
I love it. I gotta say,
here we go.
I love it. I don't do creamy soups. That's why. So you learn to love every soup that's not a creamy soup. Because I'm lactose intolerant. So I haven't had real dairy in 14 years. Yeah. Which is a long ass time. I was like young when that happened. It wasn't trendy then. It was like medical, now everyone's like dairy free. And I'm like, thank God it became trendy because there's so many more options for a person who actually had to cut it out at, early in their life. But so I don't eat creamy soups unless it's like a non-dairy creamy soup. Here's the thing. Manhattan clam chowder, if it's smoky and if you top it off with Tabasco, it gives you what you need from like a seafood soup.
Okay.
It's so good. But then again, I haven't had the creamy one in 14, 15 years. So that's probably better. But if you can't have it, you got to do it right. It's all about what you put on the soup. I don't think a soup is ever perfect on its own.
Yeah. You got to zhuzh it up a little bit. I agree.
You definitely do.
Yeah. That's my mom's favorite phrase. Like, I'm going to zhuzh it up a little bit, James. She, they
zhuzh a lot in Long Island.
Big time. Yeah. Big time. Yeah. A lot of zhuzhing on Long Island. Yeah.
My mom's from Long Island, but she refused to raise her family there. No offense, but she thinks she got out.
Yeah, no, for sure. Now, where were you raised? You were raised in the Philadelphia area?
Yeah, I'm from Philly.
Yeah, from Philly. Yeah,
I'm basically from the Long Island of Philadelphia.
Yeah.
It's called the Main Line.
Oh yeah.
There were a lot of fancy cars in my high school parking lot. It looks like Long Island from a distance, but
one of my favorite town names is on the Main Line. It's just Conshohocken, which was just fun to say.
Very fun to say. Yeah. Conshohocken is you know what else is fun to say on the Jersey Transit? Metuchen, New Jersey.
Yeah. That was a good one. Yeah, for sure. Yep, and ass because it's Manassas, Virginia. But anyway, there's a bunch of stuff. Yeah,
that's what this podcast is, right? We just make fun of town names for a while.
Mainly Jersey, I think, since it's in between us. We're just gonna shit on that for a while.
Yeah. Conshohocken, though, is right where my high school was, right by Conshohocken. Like I'd go to the Conshohocken Wawa like after high school if I wanted
to. There you go.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. Now here's the other thing I wanted to ask you about this. Since you're someone who loves hot soups, what are your thoughts on like gazpachos and vichyssoise and things like that? Are you like, get the hell out of here? Or has the soup aficionado kicked in with some of those?
It's kicked in. It's funny you said Hale and Hardy. Hale and Hardy used to have an amazing gazpacho. I don't know if you ever had it, but it was
don't like cold soup.
Oh, it was really good. Like it needs to be a really, really hot day for me to like want it, you know?
Sure. Yeah.
But I'll still eat soup on hot soup on a hot day, but I don't mind the cold soups. If there's a hot one on the menu, I will order that before the cold,
Here's a random quirk about me is that I don't like foods that in my brain are supposed to be hot to ever be served cold. So for example, I don't like cold soups. I also therefore don't like macaroni salad, pasta salad.
Okay.
I'm just like, what are we doing? Also, if I'm going to order a sandwich out, the least you can do is melt the cheese, right? Like, what are we doing over here? In my opinion.
I like that. So you don't like when they like grill vegetables and then like put them out cold on a platter. You wanted that hot. No,
that eggplant looks like dead fish.
Yeah. I get that. I totally, that's not too quirky. I get it. I don't love pasta. I never ate really macaroni. Like I'd prefer potato salad over pasta salad easily.
There it is. We're really hitting the hard stuff. This podcast is about vulnerability. And I love that we've really
I'm just hungry now. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Can we actually take a break? I'm not proud of this. You mentioned ramen earlier, and this is the last soup conversation we'll have, maybe. But I'm not proud of this, but I was living in New York. So therefore I was like around 24 years old or something like that. Mm-hmm. And I was in 24 and a friend of mine came to visit me from college. And she came up, she's like, oh, I really want ramen. And I was like, okay, like what, like, are you balling on a budget? Like what's going on? Because at that time, like ramen, especially like college brain James, like ramen comes in packets or ramen comes in cup of noodles. Right. And I am a like naive white boy, aka uncultured. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, okay, yeah, I mean, I could run out to the store and grab you something real quick. She's like, no, I found this spot. It's Momofuku Noodle Bar. And we're going to go over there. And I was like, all right, oh, wow, you like came here with a plan. I don't even have to figure out where I'm for dinner. And so we went over there and my mind was blown. And I was like, what is this other crap that I've been eating? Now, don't get me wrong. It is fine in a pinch. But still, like compared to the outrageousness that is true, authentic ramen, what I assume is true, authentic ramen, having never been in Japan, is an outrageous product.
Oh my God. Yeah. It changes everything. I didn't know ramen. It's funny because when I first moved to New York, well, not first, I was here and then I was in LA. And then when I first came back, I lived on, 11th between 3rd and 4th Avenue. So right near the Momofuku Noodle Bar, but there was also, what's the other ramen place? Why am I, Ippudo, which is the best, I think, in the city. Mm-hmm. And so it's always like a 90-minute wait. So I would like put my name in and then go home. And then like I'd do it. I'd do it 90. I was like, well, I live around the corner. I'd walk my dog, put my name in, and then like come back at dinner time. I was like, this is how you do it. You live right by the ramen place that's really popular. That takes no reservations. Yeah.
That's how you beat the system right there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well played. Well
played. Thank you.
So you grew up in the on the main line in Philly. Growing up, what was Anna's dream? Like when you
Montgomery
were younger,
County, I should say.
Montgomery County.
Not Delco, Monco. Yeah.
Okay, there you go. Y'all, we're gonna get a fight in the chat. There is no chat, but at some point in time there'll be a chat. But the fisticuffs are coming out. So what was the dream? What was the dream for you, Anna, when you were younger? When you were, 5, 6, 7, 8 years old? Was the stage the dream? Was a microphone a dream? Was it something else?
Yeah, I knew exactly what I wanted to do from the moment I was born. I don't remember ever wanting to do anything else. I wanted to act. I wanted to be on Broadway and sing and be in movies and work in fashion. Like I really, I don't think I knew what influencer was then because we didn't have those then, but like that would have been on the list. It kind of hits a lot of places. I didn't necessarily know I was going to do comedy. Yeah. Like I didn't know I was going to do stand-up comedy. That wasn't new. That wasn't something I was like, I need to do that when I was a kid, but I knew I needed to be in entertainment and make stuff.
That's awesome. Are there like classic home videos of you, putting on shows for the family or things like that?
They don't exist anymore. My parents got rid of everything from my childhood when they sold our house. There's literally not. I maybe they have. I don't think they have anything, to be honest. Yeah, they got rid of our house when I was in college. It's a sore spot. They didn't tell us. They didn't tell my brother and me. They told my sister because she was still around. But yeah, we were pretty pissed off about that. But every Sunday night, I would have a show in my house. I was the oldest, so my brother and sister were my backup dancers, or they would serve as supporting characters. They were never the lead, obviously, and that's like not allowed. And so it was usually like a Spice Girls reenactment. Or like I did a lot of Britney or, Mariah Carey. I had a fish named Mariah Carey. So I was very, I was very into pop stars and I loved theater. Like I loved musical theater. And so I was just like, well, I'll be doing all of this. Like I thought it was no question. My parents are not in entertainment at all. So this was probably freaked them out as a child,
Was there something that was there something that triggered it for you, or were you just constantly did you see a movie? Did you watch a show? Did you what was it that was no, this is it?
I don't remember. It was just being born. I just loved, I watched a lot of TV. We were, I grew up in a house where my parents didn't care what we watched on TV. Doesn't matter if it's an adult show or, a rated R movie. Like literally they didn't ever have any rules about that. Yeah. So I watched a lot as a kid and my grandma loved theater. She would take me to see Broadway. My mom every year, for Christmas time, we would go to New York and see the two coolest shows of the year. So I saw Rent when Rent came out. I was Amazing. 7, 8. I don't know. And I just remember, yeah, right. And I was very young and my brother was even younger. And I remember my mom took us to Rent. We had dope seats. We saw original cast of Rent and we listened to the soundtrack in the car, on the way to school and back every day. So we knew all the songs. So we're sitting there, we're singing Rent. We don't know what AIDS is. We don't know what anything is. We don't know
Angel's character is
plot,
whatever.
Who knows? But we were this is so fucking cool that we're at Rent and I'm sorry, can I curse? I didn't.
Please do.
Okay, that we are at Rent, we're seeing the CD that we listened to, that was the coolest thing. I remember we also saw The Lion King that year because it was hot then, and we were whatever, Lion King, we've seen the movie. Rent is where it's at.
Whatever.
I'm most parents would never take their kids to see Rent, that young. I don't know. I didn't know what cocaine was. We're whatever. She can't find her stash. It's probably a bow.
Yeah. You didn't even know the general concept of what paying rent was, let alone all of the minutia in the plot. Yeah.
I knew none of it. Yeah. But I knew what sex was because I watched advanced stuff on TV.
Sure. Yeah.
But yeah, I was just blown away by shows and I did shows too. I would act as a kid and I'd beg them to put me in. I was but let me get an agent. Let me go and do film. I don't need to go to school. I could just work. And my parents were no, but I begged them to be stage parents always.
They weren't having it. They were not having it.
Mm-mm. They said I could do anything I want when I graduate. Which meant I had to graduate. Fuck.
Yeah. Yeah, right. Seriously. You know how long away that is from right now, Mom and Dad? Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. And here's the thing, Lion King on Broadway, no slouch of a performance. It's quite the show.
It's amazing.
But going to see Rent at that time, it's funny. My nieces are big into theater and do all the community plays and stuff like that. And so they went to go see Hamilton. Wow. And they had known the soundtrack. But on the way in, my sister-in-law was okay, let me tell you about cheating. And had to explain kind of what happened in the second act.
Right.
And so they got a quick education on the Long Island Railroad.
That's funny.
And then went to see it. But yeah, that's
how old were they?
They were 12.
Okay.
Yeah, 12-ish, 12, 13. So yeah, I think 12.
Yeah. See, my parents were we don't need to explain any of this to them. They'll like it so much just because they know the songs.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And that's the thing though, is that the internet was around then, but it was nowhere near as rampant as it is now. So it's kids today are like they truly do know most things, everything, or teaching everyone else around them. But at that age, you weren't necessarily swamped in the internet yet, and so you were just learning. You were just up there watching your rated R movies, learning everything you needed to know.
Yeah,
perfecting
basically.
the craft early.
I had AOL. Like we did have the internet, and we had AOL, and I don't know if we had it then, but soon after. And I remember like it was always a fight. Like my brother and I, he's like less than 2 years younger, so I was like, we always wanted to go online, but it took up a phone line. So, you'd fight and I'd be like, it's my turn to go on AOL, I don't know what I would even do on it. I'd go in like chat rooms and like probably catfish people and be like, I'm a dude or something.
ASL, let's go. ASL.
I loved it.
The fact that you're the oldest, that's the opposite of me, which I love. This is one of the things that we're opposites on already. But I'm the baby of the family. I'm the youngest of three. You're the oldest of three?
Yeah.
Yeah. So does being the oldest sibling, is that something that ever weighed on you? Something you think about? Is that something like, how does that affect, I guess, the way you see your other siblings, stuff like that?
I think that for me, I always believed I was the favorite. That no one could live up to what I've done. I learned we all had our strengths as I got older. But yeah, I don't know. I never really thought much of it. I think I probably would have loved to have been an only child.
You would have thrived in that environment.
I probably would have. For some reason, I don't know. Maybe because as an older child, you're a little more confident. You're used to being the one who has to live through things first. So I do think it definitely helps with your self-esteem. You're not like, I don't have to like follow in the footsteps of anyone else. I am the pioneer of the family. You know what I mean? Yes. But I do think like some people have met me and they're like, you have siblings? I never would have thought that. And I find that to be a very weird comment I've gotten more than once. And I'm like, why? Because I have it all. I don't know. Like, what does that mean?
Because I'm incredible and I have your attention.
I guess. I don't know. But my siblings, we have different relationships. So I don't know. I think for them, I don't know. They looked up to me until a certain point. None of them do what I do. So, it's always fun to catch up, but like we don't have the same lives at all.
Yeah. Is there still a through line? Like, do you like your brother and your sister?
What if I said no?
We would dive real deep into it, and you would have to hold on because we would poke the bear.
I do. It's funny. My brother and I were always very close growing up. We probably because we were in school together. We were like the same. He was 2 grades younger. So we drove to high school together and everything. My sister was 5 years younger in grades. So we weren't as close. We were close when we went to camp because my parents sent us away. And so we only had each other really when we were in Maine. But my brother and I were very, very close. And then now, I don't know when it happened in the last year in the pandemic. I don't know. My sister and I talk a lot more than my brother and I now, which is weird how that happens. I think in life you kind of have, your years where you're closer with one or closer with the other. But yeah, we're all friendly, I'd say. Yeah.
Good enough. Family meetings aren't too awkward.
I don't think we ever have a family meeting. My parents sold our house so we would never come home again. Like they got a 2-bedroom apartment. They live in downtown Center City, Philadelphia, the Soho of Philly in Old City, and they live it up in their loft. And, we were like, what are you doing? Like, what if we all come home? My dad's like, are you kidding? I'd rather pay for a hotel room for a weekend, twice a year when you all come home than like have to like have a big space with bedrooms for you. Like I don't live with you. And I was like, okay, got it.
It's a little cold, but I got it.
I'm always jealous of the families that are like, we have a big house for all of the children and the grandchildren, and we want everyone to come home whenever they can. My parents were like, especially during the pandemic, they were like, do not show up here. This is a pandemic. Yeah. You cannot, when they get a vaccine, you can come here. But until then, we don't want you. And no one went home. My sister's in Colorado. My brother's in Philadelphia. And I'm here.
Yeah.
How about you? Are you close with your siblings?
Funny. So I have 2 older brothers, and they are 9 and 11 years older than me.
Oh, wow.
So in some ways, I kind of
You were
was
really
an
the
only
baby.
child. Yeah, I was really the baby and kind of an only child, right? Like our life experiences were so different. Like, my brothers are going off to college, and I'm over here still hanging out with stuffed animals, or like figuring out which toy car I'm going to play with, and like so like every once in a while, my mom would make them take me to like their friend's house, and it was super awkward because they were all like, it was high school, so they were starting to drink, and I was like, I'm going to play on your drum set. And like, it's just like, whatever you got to do, right? Just don't leave the house and don't break anything. And
my brain just went to Step Brothers, where he's like, don't touch my drum set, whatever you do.
Exactly. Yeah. But I was all over it. Yeah. And so, but I think once I got to college, and maybe like 2 or 3 years into college, I remember this moment that I was like, oh, our relationship has changed. And so it was in college that my oldest brother got married. They both actually got married in college, but whatever. But yeah, so that when I was in college, my oldest brother got married, and I remember we were going to his bachelor party. And he picked me up at some train station because I had flown in from North Carolina, where I was going to school. And we're just kind of like chopping it up a little bit. And then eventually I was like, so how are you doing, man? Like, how you actually doing? And he was like, man, he's like, life's pretty good. I wish I got paid more, and I wish I had sex more, but honestly, I'm doing fine. And I was like, oh my God, I've made it.
Right.
You're talking about adult things. Like, you
That's
see
great.
me as a human, right? Like, it was that moment. And honestly, from that moment, we just started talking about regular life stuff, even though we were constantly in different phases of life, right? They're getting married, and I'm still, shooting stuff into socks. And they are, and then they're buying houses, and I'm getting my first job, and then they're having kids, and I'm like, I don't know, on Match.com or whatever. And so like, it just like, we were always at very different phases, but the conversations changed.
Yeah.
And it was cool that they started to see that I was a human capable of intelligent conversation.
I felt like that with my cousins. I had older cousins who were always older, and they treated me so young, and they still do. We're not friends. So that's the end of that story. Guess where they're from? Long Island.
Okay. The shade runs deep for Long Island. Most of it earned.
My grandmother loved it. While she was alive, she would defend it to her death. She was, Long Island is the greatest place in the whole world, better than Philadelphia. She moved to Philly when I was born, better than anywhere she ever, was. Long Island was it for her. And
there it is.
Yeah.
It does have its charm. It is very expensive charm for what you get. But I mean, that's kind of like that whole corridor, like the DC to Boston, like everything is like, why we're paying this much? Fine. Okay. That's what we're paying.
Yeah. Yeah. My sister has like a huge house in Colorado, and I pay like the same amount monthly for my 1-bedroom apartment in Williamsburg, and that's because I wanted a doorman. So yeah, I will pay too much money.
The doorman's clutch. Yeah, I'm not mad at you that, but yeah, you're right. I have a friend of mine who just bought some gigantic, like going to live in it for the rest of his life home with it for his family outside of Columbus, Ohio. And I was like, wow, okay, well done.
Yeah.
That's all that was. Like that in Long Island would be a ranch with a 1/4-acre plot. So
yeah, any 1-bedroom. I mean, I've been looking because we want to move somewhere bigger, and I wish I could buy something, but I don't think I ever can in my life, but maybe one day. But like even the 1-bedroom apartment across the street, there's condos across the street. They're like, they start at like 1.2 million. And I'm like, that for 1 bathroom and a 1-bedroom apartment.
Comedic.
It's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, people would laugh at us, and we're like, whatever, we chose this.
Yeah, I pay to live in the capital of the world. Sue me. So growing up, you already know that you're going to be a star of some sort.
Yeah.
You're starting to do like community theater and all the plays in high school and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, I played sports in middle school. I was I played tennis my whole life. I was very good at tennis. I was very into it. My mom's a tennis player. It was very important to her. And then by high school, I was like, I'll still play tennis, but I quit my other sports. I used to do like basketball and softball. I don't know. I did a lot of sports in middle school. And then I was like, fuck it. I'm going to do theater in high school. Now's the time to like be serious. So I did all the plays in high school. And I like also did some community theater. I did shows at my synagogue and like, wherever I could do it, I would do it. I did like a movie when I was in high school, which was the coolest thing. Like there was like a Philadelphia casting for like, and I got on this movie and it was like 3 days in Staten Island to shoot. My mom had to take me because I was like 16 or 15. I don't know what it was. And I was like, this is so cool. I'm on set for a film and it was a period piece in the 80s. So they like dressed us and I didn't have any lines, but I was in a couple scenes because it was like we were playing like the younger like flashbacks of the leads. So at summer camp, and it was like I thought it was the coolest thing ever. I was like, I need to be on more sets. Like this was dope.
Yeah, you were hooked. You were hooked.
Yeah, I was into it.
And it looks so, I mean, it looks so sexy from afar. And once you get on set, you're like, oh, wow, we're going to do that again. Oh, wow, we're going to do that again. Oh, wow, we're going to do that for 3 days. Right. Or whatever. And it is super tedious. Like you have to love it.
Yeah, you really do.
It is not for the faint of heart. It is like anybody who's ever been an extra. So like I got paid $150 for what? And like it is truly a grind. But you were totally in. And
I loved it. Granola bars never tasted so good as they did on set, you know, like it was just like, I was really into the whole, I want someone to do my makeup and my hair. I loved the whole thing.
Yeah. I love it. Now, when did comedy come into your life? Because you had mentioned earlier, like the goal was, you know, to be a serious working actor and to, to kind of get into all these different places, maybe some fashion, maybe some other stuff. And you said comedy wasn't really a thing for you. When did that start to arise?
Well, I guess comedy in terms of like stand-up comedy wasn't a thing for me, but when I was growing up, and this is a bad memory now, but I used to say, I'm going to have a show called Anna. If Roseanne can have a show called Roseanne, I want my own sitcom called Anna. And I watched a lot of sitcoms and like Sex and the City was like my favorite show. We would watch that as a family, the new ones every Sunday night, like as a family, which is probably highly inappropriate to watch Samantha, like getting fucked in the butt with your dad in the room. Like that was Sunday night. But I always, when I started doing the shows in high school and stuff, I never got a ingenue role. I never got cast as the female lead. All I wanted to do was be the pretty lead. And even at my all girls camp, I never got a good like female ingenue role. They always cast me as the funny, sidekick or the boy at camp because it was an all girls camp. We had to play, both roles or all the roles. And so I was like, I always, I would make people laugh. I knew that, but I was like, oh, I just want to be the pretty lead. And they would always give me the funny roles. And so I kind of knew like, all right, that's me. Typecasting is a thing. And you're typecast as the silly sidekick. Fine. Or the sexy bimbo, I could do comedy. I knew that. And it was easy for me. I enjoyed it. And then I guess when I went to college, like same thing, I always got very funny parts and I was not a theater major, which was a heartbreaking thing for me. I wanted to be I wanted to get a BFA in like musical theater. And
were you not allowed? Was that part of the deal also?
No, I was allowed. Okay. I was allowed, but here's the thing. I didn't get into some programs I wanted to get into by singing, fucking whatever, 2 songs and a monologue or something. And I was like, screw this. And I visited a bunch of schools and I really didn't like the campus schools. Like my dad begged me to go to Penn State. Are you kidding? I would have saved him so much money because he was very kind to me to pay for college. But, he begged for us to go to state school. And I was like, Penn State, there's 6 feet of snow and like 1 target. No way am I going here. And so I went to school in Boston. I went to BU, which is super fun city to go to school in and grounded me because it wasn't New York. So there was nothing to do but go to school. If I was in New York, I would have quit. I would have quit and been like, I'm going to just audition. Like, I don't need the school part because I really didn't want to go to school. And, but I went to BU. I was a TV production major because I loved television and writing. And so I wrote and edited and learned a lot of stuff in that, behind the camera, and which is good now because that's most of what I do. But at the time, but then I would audition for the plays. So I did all the shows and I always did the comedies. Like I did either, comedic plays, or like I did like a bunch of Neil Simon plays, or I did the musicals that were funny. So I kind of like found my groove in that kind of world.
Yeah. Did you begin to accept the fact that like, okay, this is what I'm good at. This comes easy to me and I enjoy it? Or it was like, all right, I'm good at this. It comes easy to me. And if this is what I need to do to get casted, then who cares? Rather be in the building than outside of it.
I think I liked it. I was fine with it. I was happy to be in a part of it, I think. And sometimes the funny roles have the best numbers. I was like, my last summer of camp, I was so annoyed because they did Charlie Brown. And I was like, this is my year. There's 2 female leads. I'm going to get one of them. Like, you don't understand how often they put me in a French braid and a men's suit. And they were like, now your hands go down here when you dance with a woman. And, it was, and I was like, I just want to be the cool. And then they gave me the dog. I played Snoopy. And I was like, I'm a fucking dog. And I complained until I read the script. And I was like, okay, he has 2 huge numbers in this. And like, those are fun numbers. Like they're the showstoppers, as one would say. So I embraced it. So I learned like, okay, these are fun roles. These are, you get to make it you and be silly. So I don't know. I started doing that, I guess. And I liked it. And then I started thinking about comedy like in college, because I was writing, I never wrote a 1-hour drama. I think I pitched one once, but like the scripts that I would write, I always wrote like half-hour comedies. Yeah. Even when I had to do a 1 hour, I still picked I had to do Ugly Betty because I was like, well, that's funny. Like I can write that.
Right. Yeah.
But
that's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. I Guys and Dolls is one of my favorite all-time shows. The first show I saw on Broadway, and like Nathan Detroit is my dream role.
Wow. Yeah.
Like Nicely has Sit Down, You're Rocking the Boat, which is like the number, right?
Showstopper. So, I did that my senior year of high school. That was my final show in high school.
Amazing. It was my first show in high school.
Really?
Yeah.
Who did you play?
I was not, I played a gambler because it was my first show in high school.
Yeah.
So I was a gambler, and I was a person who was also frequently typecasted as the big, bombastic, funny guy, right? Like, so like we need someone, a caricature of an individual out here. And so I was that guy. They gave me I remember I had this bright teal with black pinstripe zoot suit. Like I had the brightest suit of the whole mobsters or whatever.
They were like, he's got a vibe. We could put him in the fun suit. Yeah.
And then they had me play the waiter when Sky Masterson takes her to Havana. Right. And so like I did all these ridiculous things with this coconut drink, and I was like, I'm gonna take my moment.
Yeah.
You gonna remember me. And
Hell
so that's what I did.
When I auditioned for Guys and Dolls, I'll never forget it. It was my senior year, and I was like, there's no way anyone's going to play Adelaide over me. There's no fucking way. And I walked in there and I just sang Adelaide's Lament for my audition, and I had the perfect accent, and I wore an outfit, and I was like, you just saw the show. And so they cast me as Adelaide. I think they knew like this girl might go mental if we don't give her this role. Like, I must have really made some kind of threat in there. I was like, and there you go.
I mean, the shoe fits with Adelaide, based on what you've told us about yourself.
Thank you. Yeah, it was the best.
It's also a great part.
And then I went my first show in college. It was really funny. I had just played Adelaide, and I'm like, I'm going to college where anyone can be anything. Maybe I will get nice ingenue roles. Maybe I will be someone else. And then the first show we did was what's it called? Not a funny thing happened. How to Succeed in Business Without Really Trying. Do you know this show?
I do know, yeah.
Oh, and of course I got cast as the bimbo, Hetty LaRue, which is like Adelaide 2.0. She doesn't have the New York accent, but it was like the same shtick.
Yeah, same exact shtick. That's awesome. That's awesome. When I went to college, I had to make a choice between if I was going to go in for theater or if I was going to go for marine biology.
Wow.
And I told myself, I said, I'm going to go for marine biology because I believe that if I am funny enough, good enough, talented enough, and I put myself in the right place at the right time and just nail an audition or whatnot, like I will get to be an actor. So let me get a degree Let me get a degree, and that potentially I could use in the meantime. And so
very smart.
Oh, very smart. Yeah. Now I have a BS in marine biology, and it is a 16-second bit in every speech that I give. That's what my parents were also very generous enough and paid for my college. And so thank you for the 16-second laugh that I get in every speech that I give.
I have a BS in television. Just
Nice.
that. I was very segregated from film. I never wrote a feature film. I never took a film class. It was all TV. So when people see that, they're like, did you make this up? Like who, most people have like film and TV or communications. Nope. It just says BS in television, which is as BS as it gets.
As someone who was typecasted, that's the kind of thing that can sometimes really mess with your self-esteem. Like we can laugh about it right now, but I know for me, it bothered me. Like I remember watching Good Will Hunting and being like, see, look what Robin Williams can do. I can do that, right? Like I can play someone serious, but like it's literally like put me in, coach. Like let me try, like give me a shot. And in my senior year, I was Billy Bigelow in Carousel, and that was the first time that I got to do something that was more of a serious role, right? Like the character winds up killing himself at the end. Spoiler alert. But still, that was my first shot. But it really messed with my self-esteem. That's like, James, you belong in this box. And this is how people see you. They will always just see you as the funny guy, that they love having you around. And it's fun, but no one's actually ever going to like call and hang out with you or anything like that. But just come here and fill your role and do what everybody wants you to do. Right. It's an interesting story that really messed with my self-esteem, and my counselor we still have conversations today. But anyway, but the thing is that I'm wondering if did any of that affect you in any way, shape, or form, or did it cause you to work harder? Did it cause you to, or did it cause you to be like, you know what? This is the industry I want to be in, and if this is what you're telling me I need to do, then that's what I'm going to do.
No, definitely. I think it affected me for sure. I think it made you jealous. It made you feel that kind of like jealousy, almost like how we see it on social media when everyone puts their, perfect life out there, and you feel like I'm doing nothing. And all these people are on a billion shows and they're successful and they're booking jobs and everything. Like, I think it felt like, they get the big, the lead, and I don't, and I don't know what that, I'm not giving you that because I can do it. I can sing it. I can do it. I don't know why. I think totally it fucks with you, especially when you're young and you're growing up and you're finding yourself, to typecast a teenager is like, it's so silly. It's like, let everyone try everything, None of us are going to be like this when we're older. But it's funny when you said that, I felt the same way. I never was very self-conscious. I wear what I want to wear. I feel very, comfortable in my own skin. However, when I started doing comedy, I felt that same kind of like, people are judging me in improv, or people are judging me in stand-up based on what I wore or how I looked or if I wore makeup or whatnot. And then when I started auditioning for commercials with my glasses, and I'd have agents who'd say, wear your glasses. They don't think you're funny if you don't wear your glasses. They'll think you're trying to be like pretty, like you're not playing the pretty girl, you're playing the funny one. And Tina Fey is funny and she wears glasses. Like it was like, there was like one image. It was so strange. And I was like, what a shitty ass industry, but I love it. I need it, and
it's a wonderful abusive relationship.
It really is.
Yeah.
It is. I did an internship in casting when I was a junior in college, which I think opened my eyes to a lot of stuff. Like it was very helpful to see how things are cast and what really goes on, what really matters. And I think that helped a lot. Like just having to do that. It was a shitty ass internship. I hated it. I would never want to work in casting, but just seeing, I'd be like, this person's perfect. They're exactly what you're looking for, like, and I'd be, cause I'd open all the submissions as an intern and like, I just remember like either they didn't like the agent. They were like, ugh, I hate that agent. I don't like to audition any of his clients. And I'd be like, whoa. Oh my God. But these people are exactly what you said you wanted. And like, they have like awards and they're in multiple TV shows, blah, blah, blah. Didn't matter. They didn't like the agent. Or like, I'll never forget we were casting a judge role. Right. And they were like, woman, like 50s to 60s, Caucasian woman. And they'd bring in like 25 actresses in New York and they'd audition for the role. And some of them were great. I'd sit in on some of the tapings. I was like, oh, wow, they nailed it. They got it. Next day, oh, the director changed his mind. Actually, 50s to 60s Asian woman. Okay, great. Then they brought in like, all the Asian actresses to play this role, and they all auditioned. Great job. And then I'll never forget seeing the movie, and the fucking judge role was like, I think it was Dennis Leary. It was like a friend. It was like a friend of the director. And I was like, so much is out of your control, like just get in a room. Maybe it'll be your chance, be nice to everyone you meet in the industry. You never know. Like that taught me a lot, just seeing how it's out of these people's hands. It doesn't matter. They were great at the audition. All of them could play it,
Yeah, so. Right. Yeah, it's quite literally that it's not you, it's me, kind of thing with these individuals. But you're right, because in the acting world, you have to get exceptional at coping with rejection. Yeah, and that's a known fact. But just because it's a known fact doesn't mean it's like, oh, all right, great. Well, let me just get in here and get rejected, and I'll be fine. Right? Like, no, there's so much that you put into each one of these roles, each one of the auditions, and you're holding the sides, and you're trying to nail it, and that kind of information is wonderful to have. But for you, as you entered into the space and started going and auditioning more and commercials, as you said, and whatever else you were auditioning for, did that background, like, were you able to kind of be like, all right, well, I guess they probably wanted Dennis Leary for the role, and it wasn't me. Like, or like, did you still have to earn or like build that thick skin?
I think I had to build it no matter what. It sucks to get rejected, but I also, in the back of my mind, could convince myself, that like, it doesn't matter. Like, do what you have to do. After I leave an audition, oh my God, I throw out my sides in the trash as soon as I walk out of the door. Like, I love doing that. I forget, sometimes you have to remember, if you ever get a call back, you're like, oh fuck, what was that audition again? But I'm really good at just putting it out of my brain. And I think knowing that really kind of, especially going into it, fueled me to be like, all right, I'll write my own stuff. I'll write stuff. Because if I can make the project, if I can be the boss, then I get to say what goes. And, I could pick my friends, or I could, there's so much more flexibility when you do other things besides waiting for a call. No one calls to cast you. I don't know. You got to be your own boss. You started being your own boss too. And it's like, wow. Yeah. That's nice. It's 100%. Nice to be on that side.
It is. It has its own fears and insecurities, but don't worry about those. It's just nice to be on that side. Yeah. You mentioned this idea of having to wait for others' approval, and you and I both came up through the Upright Citizens Brigade Theater, and did all the levels of improv. That's where we met, and did all the levels of improv. I took some sketch. I'm assuming you took some sketch as well, and so we gave that company who knows how much money, and I don't regret it. I don't crap on them at all. I'm very grateful for the community that it helped me build in a city as big as New York. Made a lot of great friends and have a lot of great memories. But it was also interesting that I was putting my success in their hands. Yeah. And that's what I was doing, because I wasn't able to name it then, but I can name it now. Like, I was waiting for them to give me the go ahead to know I was funny, or the go ahead to know that I was good enough. Yeah. Was that kind of similar for you as well?
It was during when I turned to the casting office, I would start seeing the UCB shows and on the weekends. And I was like, oh, I could do this. They're so funny. And it's so fun. I love this. And so I signed up as soon as I moved to New York after I graduated. I came here the day after I graduated. I already had a restaurant job. And I started class. And I remember thinking I was so good at improv in my 101 class. I was like, I am killing it. I had Gil Azari. I met one of my friends who I created tons of videos with over the years. John DeMuth was in my class, shout out to DeMuth. We had such a great core group. And I was like, these people, and some of them are still my friends today from that class. And then you move on to other teachers, and you're not as good anymore. And I was like, now I'm in my head, and everyone's like, are you auditioning for Harold? Are you doing this? Are you doing that? And it was all, and you felt like, as soon as you walked in that door, I felt like, oh my God, I have to impress these people. They have, I want to get ahead. I want to be on the teams, and if you're not going to get a commercial agent unless you get on a house team. And then if you get on a house team, you better get on ASCAP. Like, it was such a it was grad school. I feel like in a lot of ways, you know, because I didn't go to grad school. And there came a point, I think, where I saw a lot of people getting so sucked in, and it was all they did, right? And they were so funny and so talented, but all they did were shows in this basement, which led to so many careers. But I was also like, you know, I don't like having to invite people to see me perform for one night that no one's going to remember what I did. You know, it's not. So I don't know, that UCB, I feel grateful for, like, you know, it gave me a place to perform and stuff, but I also like quickly was like, I don't want to put all my eggs in this basket. There came a point where I just didn't audition anymore for the teams, because I was like, you know what, it makes me feel bad if I don't get it, and there are other things I could be doing, and so I'm gonna just do those. And so I started making a lot of video stuff, and I was like more fulfilled than inviting people to like a sketch show, an improv show. I don't know.
Yeah. That's beautiful. I mean, it's right. Like at some point in time, you have to make the decision that what is going to fulfill me more, and what is going to, and who is going to be the controller of my energy and also my future.
Yeah. Yeah. And they didn't make me feel good when I auditioned and stuff. And I was like, I don't think they get it, you know, like, and there are other outlets to do this kind of stuff.
Yeah,
but,
for sure. And just
but I loved it.
Yeah.
Right. I still love the people and the experience I had there. I wouldn't trade that in.
Yeah, no, for sure. A lot of times I credit it to, I was just like the wrong person at the wrong time for them, right? Like they either had someone like me already, or they were kind of moving in a different direction with a different style of humor than I was bringing. And so, you know, and that is what it is.
Yeah. And you know what's funny? In 2015, I wrote a script with my friend, and we got into the Just for Laughs festival in Montreal, and people at UCB started taking me seriously because I got into JFL with my script. And I was just like, I was annoyed. You know, I was also like, haha, yes, I got into this cool festival that all these comedy people, you know, try year after year to get into. I wasn't a new face, you know, like a new face character, but it was like, it felt really good to like do something. And whenever I've done something like I'm writing a new script, or I'm going to produce a video, or I'm going to shoot a music video, I don't know. Whenever I've put a project out there on my own, it has led to something else that's better. So, you know, I wasn't sitting there waiting for them to put me on a Herald team anymore. I was like, all right, I've learned if I work on my own shit, someone will, you know, see that. Someone else will see that. I don't know. But I did have closure. Can I brag? I got to do ASCAT as a monologist. And that was like...
Are you serious?
That was like the coolest.
Well played. That's like auditioning for... that's our equivalent at this time for auditioning for SNL, and then getting to come back and hosting
and host it. Yeah. They when I was doing HQ, when I first got hired at HQ, they asked me to come and do it. And I was like, oh my God, this is so cool.
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. Congrats on that.
Thank you.
This is also fun for people who have no idea what it is. And we're just like, oh wow, she got to do something called ASCAT. That sounds like sounds like a really big deal.
It's a big deal at the Upper Citizens Brigade. It's the Sunday night show. They always have a guest monologist, and then the improv show is just funny for that person because it's their stories.
That's awesome. It is a big deal for sure. And so now that you've figured this out, or not now, over the past handful of years that you've figured out that like, I want to be the controller of my own thing, right? I want to write the things. I want to direct the things. I want to I kind of want to be the master of my own destiny. For you, as you sit here and look at kind of where you're going and where you are, I'm wondering what's the goal? Like where are you trying to go, or are you there, or like what's next for you? What would you love to do?
I'm nowhere near there. Okay. It actually freaks me out. You know, every birthday when I was younger, because unfortunately, because I knew what I wanted to do at a very young age, I had age limits for goals. You know what I mean? I was like, I will be at the Emmys by age 27. I will be at the Golden Globes by 29. Like I would give myself these fucking years. And then I see these years approach me and I'm not there yet, which is sad. So no, I'm nowhere near where I want to be. But I work really hard. I don't know. I have a lot of different projects going at all times. And I feel like you kind of have to. You can't just bank on one thing anymore. even when you're in a meeting, it might not be the right thing that they're looking for, but you have 4 other things you're working on and they're interested in that. I've had that happen before where they're like, oh, we like that idea instead. And you're like, oh, okay, have it. So I don't know. The goal is I'd like to produce some TV shows.
Yes.
I very much love the unscripted world. I host and I love reality shows. I don't watch like the Housewives and stuff, more like the competition food, talent competition shows. So yes, I guess in a way there are certain people who I'm like, I'd like their career where they get to be on camera, but they also serve as an executive producer on a lot of shows that they created, like a Ryan Seacrest, like a Nick Cannon, like I don't know, like a Tina Fey. I don't know. She has a ton of stuff, but yeah, she's not as much an unscripted, but yes, I'd like to be able to produce shows that I'm curious to see make it on TV. I don't know.
Yeah.
There's some that I want to be in and on and some that I don't need to be on that I just love the idea and I'm happy to see it go.
Yeah. It's funny because as you were talking about that, I felt like this uncomfortableness of like, I'm talking it, I'm saying it out loud, or it just feel weird to share it. Or is it weird? Sometimes it's weird to talk about our dreams and try to name them, but also I think there's also a weird stigma sometimes on people who want to do what you want to do or what I want to do. I want to be on TV also. That's a big goal of mine.
Yeah.
And, I'm trying to figure out a way around it. And I'm trying to, like the big dream for this here Diner Talks is actually like, I want this to be a TV show one day. I want it to be 2 or 3 cam shoot, a mixture of comedians and cars getting coffee and Letterman's, like I'm telling you, Letterman's, what's
my next guest needs
my next guest, right? Like that kind of, those kind of shows. Like that's what I would love for this to be. And so I'm trying to bust my chops. I'm gonna start getting in the hands of some producers. I'm gonna try to shop it around, see if I can win some whatever, right? Like, and there's times where it feels weird to tell people that out loud. And I don't know why it is. I don't know if it's because we're expecting people to push back on the idea of like, well, that's not, you're never going to do that, right? Only 1% of basketball players make the NBA or whatever. What was it? I mean, I don't know if you felt yourself kind of like giggle a little bit while you were talking, or there was an uncomfortableness in there.
No, I think I laugh because when someone says scripted, unscripted, I do it all. I'm like, okay, you sound stupid. But it's true. I do have a couple decks that are for unscripted shows. And then I have right now I'm working on a half-hour pilot and a feature film. So I'm like, yeah, I do have my toes in both worlds. But I think saying it out loud sounds silly. And I would judge if I heard myself say that, I'd be like, you sound, it sounds silly. But you don't know what'll take off, like you really making the soup videos last year. Like during the pandemic, I produced these 10, they're dumb. They're shot terribly. I'm really, I'll say anything. I wear silly outfits, but I love doing it. And I produce a lot of better looking stuff than the soup videos, but for some reason they were fun to do. And I just did them in the pandemic and I got a job because of them working on a video game. I wrote for a video game that was about food that should be coming out. And so like, they were like, food. And I do. And I did work in fine dining and I do know, and I was like, you never know what things will lead to. So, that's why, but I did laugh at myself. I don't know if I answered the question.
You did. And it's, I think it's awesome. And you're right. It's about putting stuff out there and because you never know what somebody's going to see or what's going to stick. Right. And you didn't produce those soup videos because you're like, you know what this is going to be the angle for? I'm going to crush. There's probably some video game that's coming out that I don't even know exists. And like, right. Like that's not what it is. But, and so, there's a lot of power in just doing it. A friend of mine says, just hit the damn button and just press record. And there's power in that. Yeah.
Like TikTok. I mean, that's a perfect example. Like a lot of people, they're like, oh, I don't know what to do. I'm like, do anything. You throw anything at the wall on TikTok. You never know what's going to stick. Usually it's the shit that you don't work on at all will take off. But like, it's just like, it's a fun I love it right now. It's a fun platform to try anything. And some things that will stick, then you have a little like, niche for a while. And it's fun to do that. And like, I don't know. It's it's a great place to like just throw out your dumb ideas into the ether, and see what happens.
It's truly a fun pool to play in.
Yeah. I'm not good on it either. I don't have as many followers as anyone, but I'm like having fun with it.
That's awesome. And the last concept that I kind of want to touch on here at the end is, I'm someone who thinks about legacy a lot. And I think it causes me to put a lot of pressure sometimes on myself of like, I do have these goals. I do have these dreams, and I'm not there by whatever age I thought I would be at, or I'm seeing so-and-so and they're this old and I'm this old. And so what does that mean? Right. And then you hear the other stories of like, oh, well, this person didn't get famous till they were 65. It's like, well, cool. That's good for them. I don't want to wait that long. Right. Like, and so I'm someone
Although I don't know, Jean Smart's having an amazing year. I would love to have her career at her age.
Doing just fine. Yeah. Doing just fine. Yeah, no, for sure. But the idea of waiting that long is right. I don't know. I think I'm a little too impatient for that. I'm not proud to say it, but it kind of is what it is. And so I'm someone who is kind of constantly thinking about things in the future. It sounds like even just with the way that you talked about these soup videos or the way that you talked about TikTok right now, that's not necessarily the way you think. Look you have goals, you have dreams and aspirations, but you're not every single thing that you press record on, you're like, this is going to be it, right? Like it sounds like you've been able to be more present in the pursuit of your dream. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think I am present because it's funny when you said it before. I was like, I am present, but then I went back and I was like, I don't know if I am. I don't like to think too far ahead. I really do think. I don't know. I think it drives me crazier if I think too far ahead. I think other things that have happened in my life and therapy, have kind of like helped me stay grounded and like. I also come from a family of people who are in recovery. And so, they're always one day at a time. For everything you have to complain about, they love to push, that on you. And I think it's healthier to just focus on, now, I don't know. Otherwise, I would lose my mind. I mean, I'm, my birthday's in a couple of weeks and I really go insane around my birthday because I don't like getting older. I don't like getting older and not being where I thought I'd be. And so I think I put a lot of pressure on myself, but I also distract myself with making stuff. Like that's how I get through. And then those things end up becoming some stuff sometimes. I don't know,
Yeah. So
as a creative person, it sucks. I'm a Gemini, you want to do everything. You can't decide. So I think as a creative person, it's like, I need to, where am I going to be? I gave up on where I'm going to be in 10 years because I'm not there now, but I know I have an idea for something fun I want to make next week for, whatever date happens next week. I don't know.
Yeah. That's first off, it's beautiful to hear you speak about it. And I love that we're different in that way.
Yeah.
And I don't wish what I do on anybody, right? Like I think that's right. It's anxiety, right? People have depression and worry about things in the past. People have anxiety worry about things in the future. And the fact that you are able to be a little more present is awesome because I think it's great that you can just press the button. And just like, you know what, I'm gonna make this thing and I'm just going to do it. And we're going to see what happens as opposed to, I know for me, I get in my own way of like, I not so famously have 8 episodes of a podcast recorded that I recorded back in 2014 or 2015 or something like that. And never saw the light of day because I decided they weren't good enough. Right. That's so dumb. Just put them out and then get better, right? Like just work on it. But I was like, well, they weren't exactly. And like, it was like a dumb reason. But like, it was the kind of thing where my head just spun to the point where I was able to shut it down and just like full stop on that project. And it took me 4 years or something like that to pick it up again.
Wow.
Right. Yeah. And so I think it's awesome. There's a lesson somewhere in there of like, let's go. Right? Like you got to put stuff out there. And the fact that you're working on all these different things, that doesn't mean that you don't know what you want to do or you don't have, it's like, well, scripted or unscripted or whatever. Right. It just means like, no, I fucking want this and I'm going to figure it out. And it's really cool as your friend, to watch you, keep pushing.
Thanks.
It's badass.
Thank you. I don't know how to not. I wish I could not. You know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
I can't binge watch television.
Mm-hmm.
I know I can't. Oh, hi.
Sorry about that.
He's done. He's like, thank you.
Sorry, say you can't binge watch television. Say it again.
Yeah, like it's so funny when people are like if I'm sick, if I'm like literally I cannot physically like work or do anything, then I can sit and watch TV all day and all night. I majored in it. But I pay for cable and all the streaming services. But I feel bad about I can't sit there and watch 6 hours of TV like just for fun on a random day. I don't allow myself to watch TV until after I eat dinner or like while I eat dinner, which is usually like 9 p.m. Like it makes me feel like I'm not getting work done. And maybe that's just like adapting to freelance life 5 years ago when I was like, all right, how am I going to make myself work? Yeah. You know, don't do anything fun in the day. That's a work day. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah,
so I wish I could relax. I wish I could just like trust that, you know, I can give myself time. I try to on the weekends and stuff. Like I give myself, I'm better at it now. I think a pandemic really helped you to find a day or two in the week to not do shit, but
I do that mental health day.
Yeah. But I feel bad for myself if I can't do that to myself. Like, I'm like, no, you have stuff to be done. No one's going to write the script for you, you know? And like, you want a meeting for this to pitch this show? Like, perfect the deck then, like make it good and send it out. And I don't know. Yeah. I'm very hard on myself. I act like I'm in the moment, but I'm also very hard on myself.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And I appreciate your honesty there. It is, first off, it's refreshing. And it's real, right? Like this is, I don't know. I am every single time after I give a speech, or every time after I give a speech or something like that, there's, my wife is always like, you're not allowed to talk to me for 48 hours about how that went, because she knows it'll be like, well, you know, I said this wrong and my transition over here was trash and like this one other thing, right? And just like, and it is being your own worst critic is definitely real.
Hosting live though has helped me get rid of that. Like doing hosting over 450 live shows, like in the beginning, I'd be like, oh my God, on question 2, I fucked up that word. I didn't say it properly. And then like, no, I learned that like you walk out of there and it's done. It's out in the and tonight's a new show. Like you can't. Yeah. And I'm sure you feel that way a little bit with your speeches when you're like, you have to like, that one happened. It's done. I have the next one to focus on.
Yeah. You got to figure it out. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. And I appreciate you so much. Thank you. I appreciate you for kicking it with me, friend.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. This is fun. I hope I gave you a good episode. All of you.
I have been gifted a good episode. Thank you. I love it. I appreciate you, friend. Yo, that was Anna Roisman coming in and kicking it here in the diner. So fun to catch up with an old friend who's doing some really badass shit. I hope you'll check her out. HQ Trivia is everywhere. And also, she's just doing some amazing projects. Follow her, Anna Roisman, all over the internet. She's worth your time, my friends. And my friends, you're worth my time. Thank you so much for kicking it with me in the diner. Until the next time we get to share a chocolate milk, do me a favor and keep punching small talk in the face by asking better questions.